Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Online Warriors podcast. The dog days of summer remain upon us, and I'm Illeagle 86, still here. I'm joined as always by Techtic.
Hi.
And Nerdbomber. Techtic's drinking coffee.
Dog days aren't over. The dog days are still here.
That's how I stay sharp and not sing weird songs.
Do you, in the summer months, I transitioned to iced coffee. Do you stay hot coffee throughout the entire year?
Depends what time of day it is. In the summer, I will drink hot coffee all year round. If it's nighttime, I'm drinking hot. If it's daytime, I'll drink iced.
So right now, so it's evening right now, listeners. So you're drinking hot coffee. So let's talk about this for a little bit because it's not like we have anything more important to get to. I can't with this. Like, I've always wondered as a social construct, you know how like you go out to a nice place for dinner or like you eat Thanksgiving dinner and it's like 7 o'clock. People are like, how about some coffee?
Yeah.
Who started that?
I think some people are just built different. Some people's bodies, they can handle caffeine and go to bed just fine late at night. And I'm not like an energy drink guy or any of that stuff. I can have a cup of coffee and hit the old snoozeroo an hour later.
See, it's funny because when we were on vacation, you know, I had like, you're having pastries and stuff. It's a pastry shop. You're having dessert and you can't not have coffee with it. And I think it was probably like 7:30, 8 o'clock. I had a coffee and I was up all night. I didn't understand.
Yes, she was.
Are you
Ew.
Gross? Are you drinking coffee right now for the caffeination benefit? Like, were you tired and you made coffee? Or was it
I genuinely just enjoy coffee at the end of a long day. So a little column A,
that's
little
messed
column
up,
B.
man. That's messed up. I don't think that's right.
I don't usually drink it this late. Typically, my like prime coffee time is like 6:30, 7 o'clock. That is like my favorite time for an evening coffee.
Yeah, listener, we're recording this at 9 o'clock. That's like, finish this. I'm gonna go to bed. You're gonna be zooming around the walls until 1. Although
okay.
It's not like that's like your resting state. Yeah, you guys are late bedtimers over there. I'm
just
an early
don't sleep.
bedtimer. I'm a grandpa.
We're an average 5 hours of sleep.
Is that an accurate figure?
For me, probably, yeah. For him, not so much. I would say I usually get in bed around like 12, but on like bad days, 1:30, and then I have to get up at 6. So
You don't get up at 6?
my first alarm goes off at 6:18. No, my first alarm goes off at 6:18, and then I lay there until my like final alarm goes off.
Yeah, so I usually go to bed at 11:30 and I get up at 6.
I hate to fall back on this phrase, but that's messed up. Like, well, okay, there's a lot of things that are messed up. 10:30 p.m. bedtime. It's elite. Let me just say, I'm part of that gang, and it's a great gang. We're accepting applications for new membership. I encourage you guys to apply.
But so many things happen at night. Like
not good things. I'd say nothing good ever happens past like a certain hour.
Especially during the summer, and that hour is like 2 a.m. Nothing good happens after 2 a.m. Very far cry from 10 p.m. But like, haven't you gone outside on a nice summer night?
Peaceful.
And like, it's not truly dark until 10 o'clock. And that is like prime. Sit outside, listen to the bugs, watch the stars.
You know what's better than that? Do you guys know how good sleep is? I feel like you guys are we on different planets,
but like,
planes of existence?
During the summer, or during the weekend, rather, I will sleep in until like 8 or 9. That is my ideal wake up time. All of these early morning people, I don't understand you.
Yeah,
like
I was gonna say, if you didn't have a job, what would you normally get up at 6 a.m.?
See, okay, I'm
you're
glad
an
you brought
early
this
morning
up.
person, aren't you?
I don't want to be. Okay, I am so rigidly locked into my like 10:30 to 6:30 schedule that on the weekends I'm typically up and kicking. And by up and kicking, I mean like I'm in bed on my phone, but I'm awake probably like between 7 and 7:30.
See, I hate that. I don't like that.
I hate it for me. I'm
exactly.
not arguing
And
with
that's why I'm saying you're saying that 10:30 is prime, but really I think naturally you want to be getting up at 8:30 maybe, and then staying up a little later. Maybe you're past 10:30. Maybe you're up till midnight. You're looking at the stars. Maybe you bust out the old telescope and say, "Hey, look at the rings on Jupiter."
If I don't get a tight like
Saturn
7 to 7.5, I lose my sunny disposition.
Yeah, but okay,
And
so
that's
if you
important
go
for
to
the
bed
podcast.
at midnight and you wake up at 7:30, 8 o'clock, there's your 7.5. There you go.
Well, my commute to work doesn't support that.
But on the weekends, you can do that.
I'm saying if you didn't have a job, naturally,
on
know
the
we're
weekends,
right.
I do occasionally do that.
See, you know what the key? So you said you're locked into your work week schedule. And you know what the key to having your ideal schedule on the weekends? Freaking sleep deficit.
Drinking coffee.
I have no problem sleeping in on Saturday and Sunday because I get those couple hours. Like, I'm not waking up at the crack of dawn like I do during the work week because I'm tired. I've got that sleep deficit.
So you're saying torture yourself for 5 days and recover for 2 days.
Well, yes, because the weekend is my ideal life. So, yeah, I'm setting up the rest of my week so that the days when I get my ideal life, I can live it the way that I want to. Because let's be real. If you compare early morning to late at night's got the upper hand. You can go to the drive-in. You can't do that in the morning. People are going to be like, turn their movie off. You can't even see it. The projector won't even be able to project. It's too light out. Screw that.
That feels like a very specific example.
Well, no, but like even, you can't have a campfire at 7 in the morning. Nobody wants that.
I have another bone to pick with you. 618?
Yeah.
That's psycho stuff. You have to pick a division of 5 or else it's psycho.
618 is because the iPhone, and you should know this, the iPhone, when you snooze it, does 8-minute increments. It doesn't do 5. It doesn't do 10. It does 8. And I don't know how to change that. I'm sure there's probably a setting, but the snooze is 8.
Yeah, but 8 minutes from 618 is 626. That's almost worse.
No, but my time used to be 610. And after habitually snoozing with the iPhone, it became 618. That is how we get to 618.
The solution to this problem is don't hit the snooze. I want to start a public service announcement, like a campaign of commercial or something. We need to, as a society, snoozing has destroyed us. We need to stop.
No. I disagree, but I think it should be illegal to snooze more than once.
I think snoozing is fine. The key to snoozing is like you have to stay awake. You can't fall back into a deep sleep. You basically just have to lay there and dread getting up.
It's called the snooze. It's called the snooze.
I get that, but like when the first alarm goes up, that wakes you up. But you're like, this bed is warm. It is cozy. I don't want to start my day yet. So I'm just going to lay here with my eyes closed and hope that I don't have to get up yet. And that's what the snooze button's for. It's basically your time to lay in bed, gradually then be like, come to terms with the day that you have to get out of your cozy bed. That's what the snooze button is.
I do that in the shower. I'm usually, here's a fun fact about me, which is probably going to horrify you. I would say on a given 7-day week, at least 4 of those days, probably 5, my alarm doesn't even go off. I'm up.
What is wrong
my alarm's
with
set for
you?
6:25,
it's because you go to bed so
I'm
early.
up.
It's because you're going to bed too early.
I think I'm living an ideal life, sleep-wise.
I think you are incorrect. You're missing out on the joys of nighttime.
You know what this means. At Online Warriors 1, at OW Illeagle 86, at OW Techtic, at OW Nerdbomber. These are all our accounts on X. I can't call it Twitter anymore. The lawyers told me not to. Come hit us up on X.
I just want to say I enjoy that I'm right in the middle of your guys' both sleep times. You're 10:30.
Yeah,
she's 12:30. I'm 11:30.
They call it fence sitting. It's good. It's happy to have you there. Let us know, when do you go to bed? When do you wake up? If your alarm is set for an indivisible time like 6:18, do you belong in prison? You could argue I'm leading the witness, but I think it's a reasonable question. Those are our handles. Hit us up there. We're going to talk today about Uncharted. We're going to talk today about Detective Pikachu Returns. We're going to talk today about The Last Ronin, which someone, and by someone I think I mean Techtic, is going to have to explain a lot of things to me. So let's start with that. Let's start with The Last Ronin, because this was announced at the THQ Nordic Digital Showcase. We got a trailer for, this is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I feel like I should say that. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin. We got a trailer that was like 45 seconds to a minute long. We got 4 candles, I would assume representing the 4 turtles.
Which, like, the
3 of them go out.
Of that. Just exactly what the doctor prescribed for this game. You know, we've talked about this game a little bit in the past, and the one thing that I absolutely said has to be there is a dark, gritty, Batman-like vibe. And this teaser trailer did not disappoint. As I've mentioned before, if you don't know, The Last Ronin is a story where all but one of the turtles have been killed over time. This takes place in a dystopian future. And it's basically following you through the, quote, mystery turtle out to get vengeance for his fallen brothers.
So you're not supposed to know who the turtle is.
I know who it is because I've read through the comics.
Well, sure. But like the average Joe,
Joe is not supposed to know. And it really makes it fantastic is you never know. Like it could be anyone until the very, very end, in which you're like, what? I didn't see that one come in.
Does he like pizza?
I mean, they all like pizza.
Well, do they all they like pizza? Okay. I here's my thing. I have very limited Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles experience. The experience that I do have is nothing like this. I do not know where I sit in the cross section of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fans. I'm not much of a fan, but to me, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles has always been very happy-go-lucky, very irreverent, very, hey, we like pizza and we're turtles that are ninjas. Like it doesn't take itself seriously. It's not meant to be taken seriously. This is clearly a departure from that.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not necessarily questioning that can work. I'm questioning how receptive people will be to it.
They will be. So, like I said, the proof is already in the pudding. This comic run is critically acclaimed as one of the best TMNT comic arcs. And so there is no reason why the video game adaptation wouldn't have the same level of love and just people falling in love with this story head over heels.
My question, and I think this is super cool, honestly, like a very cool concept, a way to milk a different aspect of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, a way to give a different play style experience, because if you look at all the previous historic TMNT games, most of them have been like your side-scroller beat 'em up style games. And I think this is just a cool deviation and just a way to get something different out of the IP from a gaming perspective. Just a cool plotline as well. But why is it that when a superhero like loses his way, he always becomes Ronin? Because wasn't that also what Hawkeye began?
Yeah, Hawkeye becomes MCU. Isn't Ronin just like is it a Japanese word for like lone wolf, lone warrior? I would assume.
I think like we need to have like an entomology lesson here.
Well, there's also like non-superhero context meanings for Ronin, I think. I'm going to do a quick Google and we'll see. There's also a movie.
So it's a historical noun. In feudal Japan, a wandering samurai who had no lord or master.
Which tracks. It's not like it's a trope. Like it tracks with the story.
I feel like the last Ronin is like, he's just Ronin. Doesn't matter. I mean, he's the last turtle. I mean, maybe I'm splitting hairs here.
Maybe they all became Ronin.
Yeah, it started with Master Splinter, right? And then they no longer had a master. And then one by one, pew, 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 and he's the last one. So it tracks.
So are we going to, and you seem to know a thing or two about the comic run, are we going to see those folks die? I guess not, because then we'd know who the last one is.
You enter, hey, this is what happened. It's go time.
So one thing that I think would be very cool, but again, I'm not a game designer, nor am I involved with this game. But I think it would be cool to discover the identity of the last Ronin, assuming that you haven't read the comics, by like a series of flashbacks almost. So like you play sequences as the fallen turtles, and it's not until like you fall in each sequence that you know like which turtle you were playing. And then by the end of the third like flashback sequence, then you put it all together like, oh, this is the last Ronin now. Like I know who I am.
Honestly, that would be the perfect way to do it. The other thing this game needs, skill tree. You have 4 different like weapons.
So yeah, is he taking on all of his brother's weapons?
Yeah, he does. That's what he uses. But like, I think it would be cool for each player to have a unique playing experience by filling out a skill tree in a manner in which suits them as the player. I think it would help kind of have them dive into the story and be one with the Ronin.
But it would be cool if there were like subtle Easter eggs where if you were really closely paying attention, you'd notice that like your turtle skewed towards a specific weapon. Ooh. Or hear me out. I know because this already exists. And now I'm just like speculating, and you game developers, THQ Nordic, feel free to get in touch and steal these ideas because this could be cool. Imagine they're going to stray a little bit away from the comic run. So like we know the comics are established. There's a storyline. There is a last Ronin defined. Imagine in the game, based on the decisions that you make, and now this is again all speculative. This is not an actual
it can
game,
be a different,
but it could
can
be a different
depending
turtle.
on what you do.
Yeah, think about that. Driving different playthroughs, different play styles.
There's a lot.
I don't
of questions.
think it should make it different. If anything, I'm still kind of wondering if they actually tell you who it is or just leave you with a cliffhanger.
It's interesting because, games often offer like Easter eggs is the term you use, Nerdbomber, like things you can pick up and like do a bunch of reading about like the lore in the world that you're in. When there's such well-defined, easy to understand, critical driving question behind the narrative like this that's going to be introduced right away. Who is this guy? Which one is he? It must be a challenging and interesting task to dole out that sort of optional pickup stuff, dole that information out in such a way that it remains unknown, but it provides you with more clues. So like, can it reward players in an effective way so that by the end, when the big reveal happens, they already know? Because
do yourself a favor, guys. Don't look it up. I was convinced it was a completely different turtle, and it just made my mind blowing that much more satisfying.
I will say Techtic already spoiled it for me.
It was
do you want to be like the players that are into the game are going to be hellbent on finding out who it is, but they're, as a game developer, you also want them to have that visceral experience at the end and be shocked by the reveal. So how do you balance that? I think
that's why I think it could be cool if they kind of flip it on its head and don't go with the established storyline and have it be any turtle.
Well, I don't disagree, but based on what Techtic is saying, it seems like this comic run is too big of a deal for them to do that.
It's too big of a deal for them to do that.
Yeah, you heard it right there. You just said it. I do not know when this comes out. No release date has been revealed. Being handled by Black Forest Games, known for Destroy All Humans and Destroy All Humans 2. That's about all we know. I mean, there wasn't gameplay footage. There wasn't really anything other than like a cool cinematic showing that there's one turtle as signified by the candles. So much more to come, I'm sure, about that one. But we had another interesting trailer for Detective Pikachu Returns. Now, we've talked about Detective Pikachu, and this was, to be clear, this was not the Nordic Digital Showcase. This was a very different thing. I want to help me understand this because I am interested, even as a non-Pokemon guy, a very vocally non-Pokemon guy.
The detective mystery is really pulling you in, huh?
Well, I appreciate the design. I appreciate this idea that you have a Pokemon and a person. The Pokemon can only talk to and interact with Pokemon who you need to solve the mystery. The person can only talk to and interact with people who you need to solve the mystery because you're just gathering information. I'm on a very big like mystery kick right now. I want to watch a bunch of mystery movies. I want to like read a bunch of mystery novels. Mystery games are kind of tricky. Like I'm not sure that that genre of games is as fleshed out as it should be. And to be clear, I'm not necessarily saying that like Detective Pikachu Returns is going to be the cornerstone of that genre, or the new cornerstone of that genre. But yeah, I'm atypically interested in this, even as a non-Pokemon fan. I will say the name Tim Goodman is ridiculous. They need to do better. That's like my main point of feedback when they said this guy's name is Tim Goodman. I was like,
well, they can't change those character names. Those are well established.
But it's lazy.
You guys keep wanting things changed that can't be changed.
Well, Techtic, take us through your thoughts on Detective Pikachu Returns. First of all, I know I asked this the last time we talked about it. Have you guys played the first Detective Pikachu, which I did not know was anything but a movie until the last time we talked about this?
No, but I really want to. I think it's on the DS, and it's expensive. That is the problem.
The dang money's being money.
The DS is expensive, or the game is expensive? Or both?
The game. The last time I checked it was, at least. Maybe it went down. While Techtic regales you about his thoughts, I'm going to Google this.
Well, you heard the lady regale us.
So my thoughts on this game were, originally when we saw this trailer a while back, or a different trailer, the thing that really concerned me was the speaking. It all seemed like it was just generic mouth moving and insert language here. This trailer allowed me to move beyond that and not fixate it on, because now it's showing a lot more things that you can do and experience and ways in which you're exploring and progressing in the story. The thing that really blew me away is it's not just a talking simulator. You're not just going around and collecting data. You're actually doing tasks and following paths. The coolest thing was we had the opportunity to see him jump on a Growlithe and sniff out evidence, or inversely, another Pokemon punch down a wall and you're traversing through this maze. And it's just, they've really taken it to the next level of the things that you're able to do in this game in order to solve the mystery. And I thought that was really cool.
So Detective Pikachu on the 3DS, by the way, is $45, which isn't that expensive, but it's still a little pricey for my blood.
Pricey for your blood. Yeah, no, like I said, I'm interested. I like the concept. I happened to watch the trailer for this when my wife was in the room, and she's like, "That is not what Pikachu sounds like," which I know is like part of the joke of this whole thing. But yeah, a little jarring. He's a real private eye, that guy.
That and the coffee references. Something about it, like, I know that's not what Pikachu is supposed to sound like, but I just relate, man. It sounds like grizzled Pikachu has really seen some stuff, you know? I can relate.
Is that why you made coffee before this episode, Techtic?
No.
Okay.
Although I do love his love for coffee, that is not why. Maybe I am Detective Pikachu. Am I cute and yellow?
Well, you're not yellow, but...
Yeah, no, I like I said, I'm interested. I want to like, have either of you guys, and I don't know, is LA Noire a mystery, or does it just seem like it's a mystery? Like, I want recommendations from our folks. What is a good mystery game? Preferably one that's cheap, but like, I want a mystery experience.
I have one that you're immediately, like, you're going to throw on the pile of Nerdbomber recommendations that you'll never actually play.
It's a mountain at this point.
But
I'll just climb a ladder.
The Telltale games, The Wolf Among Us, it's not as investigative as probably you're hoping, but it's a really, really well done detective story. It really is.
The Little Mermaid is a stripper. It's crazy.
I don't think that
it's really well done.
I don't know if that's accurate. Well, it says it's on Steam. I don't have that. Also, The Wolf Among Us 2 was pushed back to next year in March of this year. Not a good vibe. Oh.
However, The Wolf Among Us, I believe you can get that on PlayStation.
$15.
Which I know you have.
Free delivery, 30-day returns.
It's super good. I devoured it. I actually played this. I think I had the flu. This is many moons ago. And it felt like a fever dream, but it was just super well done. I think I played it in an entire day because I was homesick from work and I just binged it and it was great.
But this is why, like, I think part of what's drawing me to Alan Wake is that it seems like a mystery. And granted, I don't need all the supernatural trappings of that. I honestly just want a good old fashioned, like honestly, and I think we talked about this like many, many episodes ago. There was some Sherlock Holmes thing at E3 or something. Can you get like a Sherlock Holmes game? I think that would be fascinating. Just like walking around, talking to folks, gathering clues. It doesn't have to be long. Actually, it just has to be interesting.
You know what you should look into then?
Buying Detective Pikachu.
Well, that too. Disco Elysium would be up your alley, I think.
I've heard of Disco Elysium.
You have.
Why?
It is essentially exactly what you just said. You're walking around talking to people and trying to solve a mystery.
But isn't it like
murder?
I want a game experience that it's going to take me no more than like 3 hours.
This is a lengthy game, but everybody I've talked to, so like I did try to play it and then summer hit and I never went back to it and then I forgot everything that I needed to remember. But everybody who I've known who has played it says that the time flies because you just get sucked into this world and like the writing is great. I think
I'm wanting something that's very specific. But like, and I've played some games. Gone Home was not a mystery, but it was. And I know you played Firewatch. Like, I want something that's that long and like probably more of a mystery than Firewatch because Firewatch was like kind of a mystery, but not really. It was more just like an interesting story.
The Wolf Among Us, that would be right up your alley. It's the same sort of walking simulator type deal.
Yeah, I'd rather simulate walking than walk. So, sounds good to me. But yeah, Detective Pikachu Returns. This is coming out. This is another thing interesting we need to talk about with this game. It's coming out October 6th of 2023. That it puts it in like direct competition with like Spider-Man 2, which I don't know if that was their intent, but it seems dangerous. I guess what you have to ask yourselves is how much crossover is there between that audience and, you know, the Detective Pikachu audience? Because yeah, also I mentioned Alan Wake 2, that's October 17th. Spider-Man 2 is October 20th. I guess is the implication that this game can be played in that span of like 2 weeks before the big daddies come out, so you're going to buy it? I don't know. That's an interesting one.
I mean, probably.
Is this going to... I mean, the other big question is, with you guys having never played Detective Pikachu, is this a buy for you and you'll just figure it out along the way?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay, wow. Emphatic.
97%.
97%. That's very specific. So there's 3% wiggle room in there. Something could happen, but I guess...
Gotta keep my options open.
I guess we'll see. So yeah, Detective Pikachu Returns October 6th of 2023. It's going to be here before we know it. Time flies when you're having fun podcasting with your friends. That brings me to my next point, which is that we would not be here without the marvelous unwavering support of our good friend, Mr. Stephen Keller. Stephen is a Patreon producer on this show. He supports us at the highest of our 3 levels on our Patreon, which is the night level. As a result, he gets this weekly shout out in every episode. He gets input into the weekly game segment. He gets the occasional guest spot on the show. And he, of course, gets access to the monthly secret segment and vlog. You want to be like Steven. You want to hang out with us. You want to hang out with him. But there's also 2 lower levels of support on our Patreon. One is the Squire level, which gets you access to the monthly secret segment and vlog. And also you have to carry around Steven's night stuff, because I think that's what a Squire does. Then there's the page. And I've never bothered to figure out what a page does, but they get access to the monthly secret segment. So that's a pretty good perk for the page. You can head over to patreon.com/Online Warriors Podcast to get any and all of the details on any and all of those levels of support. And you can say hi to us. You can say hi to Steven. You can see what content we are rolling out over there for our fans. Consider giving back to us. Consider keeping the microphones on here at Online Warriors Podcast Incorporated, which is not a real corporation. And patreon.com/Online Warriors Podcast is where you can find all of those details. Thanks again to Steven. We'll be right back to talk about Uncharted.
I'm Madam Chris.
And I'm Madam Amy.
And we're the hosts of the Madams Podcast, where it's all about movies, minus the mansplaining.
Every week, we discuss a film that fits into a quirky theme for the month.
And there's plenty of bonus content on our Patreon feed, too.
So if you're looking for commentary that'll make you laugh and think, you found your new favorite show.
New episodes of The Madams drop on Mondays, wherever you get your podcasts.
And you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at The Madams Pod, or on our website, themadamspod.com.
So, Uncharted was a movie that came out. That's the most good I can say about it, really. Did you guys wind up watching Uncharted?
No, we figured we'd save the time.
Yeah, that's
for like our life.
I think that was like a decent move. So the story here is that one of the producers of Uncharted had an interview with the Hollywood Reporter, and he said that they're definitely looking to further adapt Naughty Dog's popular PlayStation series as a film franchise. This comes to the surprise of absolutely no one ever. However, I've got some questions. So, some mild spoilers for both the games and also the latest Mission Impossible are about to come. If you're interested in not being spoiled for either of those things, maybe turn your volume down for the next 2 minutes. I don't know how long I'm going to be ranting. So the problem that I see here is Uncharted, both as a movie and as a game series, revolves directly around set pieces. In the first movie, spoiler alert, Uncharted grabbed a set piece from the third Uncharted game, in which Nathan Drake basically, I don't think he jumps out of a plane, he falls out of a plane and attaches himself to a cargo crate that has a parachute on it, and that's how he survives. But it's a really, really cool set piece in the game, and in the movie, it's probably the best part. It's going to need one of those big set pieces. Ideally, it would take one of those big set pieces from one of the games. The most famous set piece, I would argue the most famous set piece in all of the Uncharted games, was just used, arguably stolen, by the latest Mission Impossible movie. There's been some X discourse about this. Obviously, the Mission Impossible folks insist they didn't steal it. Obviously, the Uncharted people insist that they did steal it. But long story short, there's a train that's hanging off a cliff, and Nathan Drake and or Ethan Hunt is climbing up the train to safety. It's a really cool set piece once again. Because of the overlap between those two audiences and because of the potential time scale here, I feel like they can't use that. I don't know where that leaves them. And also, I didn't think the first Uncharted was that good. So I don't even know if I'm going to see this. But I will say...
Wow.
I will say this made $139 million in its opening weekend, which...
Right, but how much did it cost?
According to Hollywood, it probably cost $139.01 or something. That's how they tend to do things. Yeah. Well, no, actually, it's no profit, so they don't have to pay anybody. That's kind of how it goes. I will give this movie its due. I watched it. It was a great Netflix watch in the sense that it cost me no money. And I watched it, and I pretty immediately forgot about most of it. Tom Holland was not bad, nor was Mark Wahlberg. Assuming that they are retained for a sequel, I don't have a huge issue with that. I have plenty of other issues, but those two are not the issue to me. I don't know. Part of me feels like not everything should be a franchise. It makes sense that this would be, but there's plenty of other video games that I would love to see made into movies first. Is that am I just being crotchety? I know I tend to be on this show. You tell me.
Is this let's Rotten Tomatoes it? Is this an illegal take and it actually was acclaimed much better than you are saying?
But that's a really good question. Let's check the tape.
Or is it actually well received and this makes sense holistically and you're just a crotchety person, which we've seen before on the show, right? We all know Illeagle is crotchety.
40% critic score.
Yeah.
Never mind. They shouldn't make another.
90.
I think
90%
you're
audience
warranted
score.
on this one.
90% audience score, but I'm not crotchety. I don't think I'm crotchety on this one. I think this like kind of wasn't that good, and now they're like, what if we made another one because it made a bunch of money? Which
I tend to side with the audience scores, though. Usually, critics are just kind of all over the place. I feel like, but the audience score, I think this makes sense. I really do. I'm gonna be a bit of a contrarian to you, and I think this makes sense based on how well the audience score received it.
You guys have no attachment to this franchise, so if I were to guess, you would watch this movie, and I don't think you would be overjoyed, but I think you would be like, yeah, it was fine. I don't think you'd be remotely excited about it, but I think you'd be like, that was an okay movie. Would you feel 90% good about it? I don't think so.
There's been action movies that have surprised me. Like, what was that? For example, The Old Guard, I thought was really, really well. The audience score was really, really well, but you poo-pooed it, if I remember correctly.
Illeagle does tend, in the nicest way possible.
I
would
hard.
say if you aligned, if I had to choose what camp you aligned in, the critic camp or like the audience score camp, you 100% are always going to align with the critics, I feel like. For the most part, I feel like you look at things because you wanted to be like a movie reviewer at one point, and so I think you look at things with a more critical lens than the average schmo.
I'm inclined, and my wife gives me a hard time for that too.
However, Mission Impossible gets under the radar, I'm not sure.
Well, Mission Impossible is the best of both worlds. It's super critically acclaimed and the audiences love it. Like, Mission Impossible should make perfect sense to you if your analysis of me should fold directly into Mission Impossible. It's critically beloved, like across the board. Also, interesting fact, The Old Guard got an 80% critic score and a 70% audience score, so it actually was flipped.
Oh, weird. So you did. Now my comment's completely blown up. Way to go. Should just let me have that one.
I don't know. I don't think you're wrong. I think audience scores on Rotten Tomatoes in general tend to be way too forgiving. Like I think, and I don't want to like, it would be the most crotchety thing ever to be like, people aren't watching movies through a critical enough lens. I just think as a society, we're so much more inclined to come out of a movie theater and be like, yeah, it was fine, rather than be like, that wasn't good. And I don't really know why that is, but I think in some way it's because if we paid money for something, we don't want to admit that we wasted it. And on Netflix, with things like The Old Guard and Uncharted, yes, I know I pay money for a Netflix subscription, but like the same rules do not apply. So for me, I'm especially willing at that point to be like, this was kind of a waste of time and money. And you can say that about a lot of things on Netflix. Uncharted at the end does tease directly in Uncharted 2. I don't remember exactly how. I would assume it has something to do with Nathan Drake's brother, because he comes up a lot in the first one, spoiler alert, but I don't know if he ever shows up. So if I were to guess what direction they were going to go in, I would guess it's somewhere in that direction. To the credit of the people who made Uncharted, and to the credit of this guy's comments, I think there's a solid space in Hollywood amongst all the franchises and all of the things that are happening. With the, I guess, exception of Indiana Jones, which I think is like dying out, this is a genre hole that I think could be filled. Like, swashbuckling, treasure hunting, daring do. I think there's a place for that. I don't know if I'd much rather it be a new character, but I don't think I'm going to get that wish. Get that. Yeah, I'm not. I think I've come to terms with that. I'm not going to get that wish.
Hollywood has been dead set on making one of the new treasure hunting, hot swashbuckling franchises based off a video game. They tried it with Lara Croft, sort of worked. Then they rebooted it, sort of worked, and then they were like, "Screw it, let's go the other route. Let's try Uncharted." Sort of worked.
I would say
I feel like the
reboot definitely didn't work. I think that movie made like $2. And
I thought it didn't do poorly from like a critical reception standpoint, but nobody went to see it.
2018, Alicia Vikander, it got a 53 and a 55.
Okay, guess not. Pretty
not great. pretty about as average as you could get.
Sorry. I'm thinking the rebooted video games. Might be.
Oh, yeah, those were good. Yeah, the movie was like, I think most people were like, why did this get made? And that was a very valid question. The answer, of course, being to fill the very Hollywood gap that we're talking about. They just did it in a very ineffective way. I don't know. It's an interesting genre because it's hard to... The genre is obviously dominated by Indiana Jones. It is very hard to create a character out of thin air with as much panache and X Factor as Indiana Jones has, as in his prime Harrison Ford had. So I guess I don't begrudge Hollywood for wanting to have a blueprint to start doing that, and they can take it from things like Uncharted and Tomb Raider. But I don't know. It doesn't seem like they're working. They're arguing that it worked for Uncharted because it made them money, but did it really satisfy anyone? I don't think so. I don't. That 90% audience score, I feel like, is a load of hooey. But
I think Hollywood as a whole is struggling. I think we've talked about this, right? We've kind of passed the age of really, really good movies. There are still good movies that come out, but it's really far and few between.
Yeah, these are interesting times in Hollywood. I mean, I think the MCU dominated the space for a while, and it was entitled to do so, and it was right. When the MCU was doing well, it made sense, and it was great. In the wake of that, they forgot how to make movies. Yeah, there is exactly that. There is a wake where things just aren't really working, and this is perhaps emblematic of that. And now we're getting into deeper discussional waters. But I just don't think Uncharted 2 is the answer. If only because they can't do the train thing. Mission Impossible did the train thing. Come on, guys. They'll think of something. I have no doubt. And like I said, if they get Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg back, I don't think it's gonna fail. I'm just also not that interested, and I'm not sure who would be. I want an event movie. That is not going to be an event movie. That's going to be a line item movie where they make some money off of it, and who cares? I'm asking for a lot. I'm aware of that, but I think if we all asked hard enough, we would get it, or at least we'd get a shot at it. They're not even taking a chance at doing it, and instead we're getting this. So yeah, Uncharted 2. It's coming at some point. We don't know when. I do think I heard at some point prior to this that they got Tom Holland on a 3-picture deal or something, because that's how this works.
Yeah, I thought I heard that back when he was saying he was going to retire or something like that. I thought I heard that as well.
He said he was going to retire, and then they were like, what if we offered you $10 billion? And he was like, I'm in, baby. Probably want something like that. Although it probably wasn't $10 billion. That seems like a lot. Mark Wahlberg would probably do it for a Popeye's chicken sandwich at this point. But Tom Holland, he's going to need the big bucks. I don't know. Mark Wahlberg is also very popular, I guess. I just can't imagine him twisting a studio's arm to for them to get him to be in this movie. So yeah, we'll see. Uncharted 2. Uncharted 2, the game, I think is the best game. There are things they could do, but I'm not sure they're going to do them. That's, I guess, what my point is. It's time for What Are You Up To Wednesday, and it's time for Nerdbomber to tell us what she's been up to, for lack of a better term.
All right, so 2 big things. First off, Molkky. Molkky is a Finnish game that I've just discovered, and this is a lawn game. Hold your horses. I'm about to teach you some lawn game lore, I guess. I don't know. I played this game for the first time this past week. It's very interesting, and I immediately bought it. But basically what it is, so it's almost like bowling, but also not quite. Bowling and lawn darts kind of put together. So you make your triangle of these pins, and each of the pins have a different value on the face. And then you have this big wooden dowel that you throw at the pins, right? And depending on what you knock down. So if you knock down more than 1 pin, then your score increases by the number of pins that you've knocked down. If you only knock down 1 pin, then your score increases by the number on that single pin. And as you knock them down, when you prop the pins back up, you prop them up where they landed. So the first person starts with a nice triangle, and for a few throws, it stays as a nice triangle, but eventually, they move farther and farther away from each other. There's some strategy, you can really throw it at one and, knock it out of bounds and completely get rid of a pin. And whoever hits 50 first wins. However, if you exceed 50 at any point, your score drops down to 25.
Is it a team game or an individual game?
It can be played as a team game. It can be played individually. The way that I played it was individually. It actually made it, pretty fun because a lot of strategy once the pins start to spread out comes into play. And I don't know, it's very cool. I had never heard of it before. Apparently there is a Molkky World Championship, and I'm determined. If you go on YouTube, you can see the last few years Molkky World Championship, and it's basically a bunch of people in t-shirts and flip-flops playing this game
in
a
this
parking lot, gravel parking lot in France. And that seems pretty dope to me, and I'm now convinced I want to be a Molkky master. I've purchased this game.
It's supposed
to come tomorrow.
Have you heard of Cube?
It's supposed to be a variation of that.
Yeah, so I have a Cube set myself.
I've told her about Cube.
Cube is Swedish. Very similar. You're throwing a dowel at stuff. What you're describing sounds a little bit more involved in the sense that there are numbers. In Cube, there's no numbers. It's just throwing dowels at blocks, and then it's a team game, and the blocks move around, and there's things that happen. I won't get into the details, but long games, man, they're the best. They're the best. I'm all about long games, so power to you.
So I'm gonna pin you guys down here, pun intended, because there's pins. Are you guys going to be on my Molkky team and become the very best? Because right now in the United States, there's only like 2 Molkky clubs in the entire United States. There's one in like Brooklyn and there's one somewhere else. And I think we could, start our own Molkky chapter and go to the World Championship. I think we could do this.
You need better than me. I mean,
don't think so.
I don't think I have the juice when it comes to certain lawn games. Can Jam, for example, very good at Can Jam. Cube, I don't really have the juice, and this sounds very similar.
Are you good at cornhole?
I'm not great at cornhole. Throwing stuff. You guys have been bowling with me before, I believe. If you haven't, let me paint you a picture, and I can paint a picture for the listeners. You know how when people bowl, they do what's known as following through. Like they put the ball down and their arm comes up afterwards.
Yeah.
This is not how I bowl. When the ball leaves my hand, the motion is complete. There's no follow through. I'm done. That principle can be applied to most lawn games, and it typically does not help me out very much. I don't know what happened to me, but it's I think I would. I mean, I haven't played this. I'm up for it, but I just don't want to let you down.
I don't think you could let me down. There is no competition in the United States, really. So the world is our oyster.
Nope.
You can be the kingpin that all others have to beat.
There are so many. I'm like on Wikipedia, by the way. There are so many just games based on throwing wood at other wood from countries that I don't even know. There's a Karelian game called Kika. There's a Siberian game. Sorry, a possibly Siberian game called Bunnock. I'm not making any of this up. Yeah, Molkky. Sounds cool.
Yeah, we'll be playing it soon, I promise. And then the other thing is I got back into Pokemon Go, and I hate it, but I love it. I'm addicted. This is why I got out of the game in the first place. Man, it's so good. I've been walking all over the place, tracking down new Pokemon. There is a Froakie community day, which if you're not familiar, Froakie is like a little frog, and then he eventually evolves into Greninja, which is basically like a sick ninja frog. And I had so many Froakies. I have now a shiny Greninja and a regular Greninja. It's super dope. I think the last time that I played, like, it was in the zeitgeist of everybody playing, but there were no like community days. There's all of these like missions that you have to do now that did not exist when I played the game last. And I feel like it keeps it more engaging because now you're not just like catching Pokemon for the sake of catching Pokemon. There's actually like things that you have to check off a list. And if anybody knows me, if I have a checklist, I want to check stuff off that list. So whether it's a video game or real life, checklist and like tasks like that I have to complete make me come back, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. I have a bunch of really strong Pokemon now for battles, which are also something that I don't think existed back in the day, but man, I'm having a lot of fun. It's pretty bad though. Like my phone battery is suffering. The
best part is, so I never stopped playing it, and through, she would make fun of me. No one plays it anymore. Well, look who's got the last laugh.
Is it you? Because you just laughed?
It's me. Hi. It's me.
Hi. Techtic, what do you have for us? Nerdbomber, I assume that was it for you?
Yeah, that was it.
As for me and what I have been up to, well, it's been a get the house ready for a party kind of thing. I'm going to have my podcast pals over for a little soiree, and it's been getting it ready for like cocktails and some outdoor games, as she mentioned. That's why she bought Molkky.
Get it right.
That's why she bought it.
Champion.
No, I'll be calling it Milky forever. Thanks.
That's why she bought it, so that we can get together with our podcast pals, have some Mai Tais and some other beverages, and have a good time. So that's been like my going strong on there. So while I'm cleaning and finishing up some projects. She's just standing there flicking balls in the Pokemon Go app.
Yeah, it's a good choice of words. Right on, man. Looking forward to it. I'm one of the podcast pals. So yeah, no, on my end, not a whole lot to update on, but I do want to mention that I got a new car, which is like I feel like that's a very adult, like, what are you up to update, but it's my first ever electrically capable vehicle, and it's not a full electric vehicle, but it's electric enough where I'm learning a lot of things about electric vehicles. So that's going to be an ongoing process. For example, below a certain miles per hour, they're completely silent, and to account for that, there's a speaker on the outside of the car that like plays some nice little like angelic choir elevator music to let people know that there's a car driving nearby. And I didn't know that until I test drove the car, and I was like, that's weird. So I'll be getting used to that stuff like that. But overall, just really enjoying the experience so far. Also, I went camping. I don't have a whole lot specific to say about it other than that people should go camping. It's a lot of fun, especially this time of year when the weather is nice. That brings us to quiz time. I believe, Techtic, you are the man of the hour today, given that you won last week. Let's go through the standings. Techtic is 8-7. Nerdbomber 7-9. Yours truly 7-10. Steven 3-0. So I am currently bottom dog, but it's a short ride to the top to be top dog, and I plan on riding that train starting at this very station. So Techtic, why don't you take us away, let us know what the topic is, and take us on a journey.
So it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. The other thing I want to say is that Christopher Paolini is the author of the Eragon books. How old was he when he wrote his first draft of Eragon?
I go first, right? Because I'm the loser.
You are the least.
You're the less loser.
You are the least loser.
The littlest.
I'm the biggest loser.
Littlest?
Yeah, I'm the biggest loser. You're the littlest loser.
But I still go first, right?
You go first for sure. Yeah, you go first.
Wasn't he like 12 or something ridiculous?
Is 12? Is 12 your answer?
Yes.
Yeah, he was like a child. Unfortunately, I think you're really close. I'm going to use my +1 right away and say 13.
Okay. Illeagle gets this one. He was 15 years old.
Yeah, I had to do it to him, Nerdbomber. I mean, that you were very close with your guess, and we both kind of knew where things were on that. The quiz topic is Eragon, people, for in case you weren't sure.
I like questions that both teach you things and build off each other. So he was 15 when he wrote his first draft of Eragon, and his family actually self-published the book. In what year did it finally get self-published by his family?
Oh man, this is tricky. So, full disclosure, I'm a big Eragon fan, or at least I was. I haven't read them in a long time, but when I first read them, your boy was kind of obsessed. So, I have a vague idea of when this was. I just don't have the particulars. I'm going to say 2004.
This is really tough. I don't know whether to undercut you or overcut you.
Just cut me.
That's a really good guess. I'm going to say 1995 to undercut and give myself some buffer. I feel like I might have messed up though.
All right, so keeping it tight. Nerdbomber gets this one. So I asked this question because after being published by his parents, he was then published like for a worldwide audience in 2003, but the original self-publishing date was in 2001. So Nerdbomber gets this one.
So I would have busted even with the real date. I suck. All right, 1-1.
I mean, that was very close though.
No,
2003 was when.
No, I suck.
No, 2003 was when the book came out. Like, I think Scholastic published it, right?
Worldwide.
So you were a year off. That's pretty good.
I suck. Take us away, Techtic.
All right. In 2006, the book series received a movie adaptation. How much worldwide did it make in the box office?
Mr. Worldwide. I do remember it had an Avril Lavigne original song. I think it did fairly well at the box office, like in terms of money, but was not good in terms of being an actual movie. I'd say it did, because money was cheaper back then.
That's true. Money was cheaper. I'll tell you, those were the days.
I'm going to say 150 million. It feels like a lot, but I'm going to say it.
I think this bombed pretty hard. I'm going to say 50 million.
So Nerdbomber takes this one. It did really well and made $250.4 million.
Like, people went to see it. Everyone just walked out and was super disappointed in it.
Yeah, again, audience scores are wrong. Why did you go, people? It wasn't good. I didn't see it, and I love the books.
No, I'm sorry. Back then, you didn't know as easily if movies were good because many movie reviews that I don't even know if Rotten Tomatoes existed back then.
It did.
Like you had to, did it?
Yeah.
I don't think people used it as widely. You couldn't get it on your smartphone because smartphones were not a thing. So you had to like beep, boop, 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 boop on your computer, or you could just go see the movie about the book that you really loved. And people just did that. I think the audience score was still spot on though. People panned it.
Rotten Tomatoes was launched in 1998, by the way. I just looked it up.
So anyways, I didn't realize we had a self-proclaimed Eragon expert on the line, so this one might be a give me. I'm sorry. How many Eragon books are there?
Oh, well, okay. I go first, right?
Yeah.
4, right? I'm pretty sure it's 4. 4.
I don't know how to proceed here. I can't tell if they did I think he split the third book up into 2, but it stopped with 4. I don't want to waste my +1 on this, but I don't get another option anyway, right? Like I don't follow up again. I guess I'll say 5.
You have to understand the rules of the game. And when you're in this situation, you don't have any more turns, you always +1. Okay? So I respect the fact that you did that because you follow the rules of the game. So at the very least,
You've yelled at me for not following rules.
He's
of the
yelled
game.
at both
That's what I'm
of
saying.
us. He's yelled at both of us.
at the very least, you followed the rules for the game.
He's very
And so
passionate.
respect, appreciate that. And it also served you well. It was 5 books. So good job.
Really?
Yeah, that's why you got to listen to me.
So there must have been some like companion, because the main series is 4 books. There must have been some book afterwards that I didn't read because it was originally the Inheritance trilogy, and then as Nerdbomber said, the third book was split into 2 books because he realized it was too long and it became the Inheritance cycle. So something must have happened after the Inheritance cycle that I have no knowledge of, but that's fair play.
So it was Eragon, Eldest, Brinsinger, Inheritance, Murtagh.
That's right. I forgot that came out. That's
Murtagh
coming
came
out.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not out yet. Does that count then?
Still counts. That's what I had in my question. That's why it was a tricky. See if you guys were keeping up.
So it's coming. It has yet to come out.
November 2023.
I guess you can debate because I said how many are there, but I had 5 as my answer.
Hey, no, it's fair play. It's fair play. She wins. This one cuts deep because I know a lot about Eragon, or at least I thought I did. But sometimes it be like that, for lack of a better term. There's one more question.
There's one more question just for like brownie points, and maybe she'll get a win with an asterisk. So Christopher describes his characters as stiffening under various situations. In the first 4 books, how many times does someone stiffen?
What a strange...
This is a great question.
What a strange statistic. Yeah, I don't even know how you found this out.
I think Reddit for this one.
In just the first book or the series?
In the first 4 books,
the series.
How many times does a character stiffen?
In other words, the books that are actually out.
I mean, they're long books.
Yeah, that was me. I was pouring some salt. Glad it was appreciated.
Well, this will determine if you would have won or lost either way.
There's like, there are 3, 4, maybe even 500-page books. Maybe someone stiffens
on every one.
A third of those pages. There's 4 books. I'm gonna knock some off to give myself some buffer here. I'm gonna say 350. 350 stiffeners.
That seems high. I'm just gonna undercut you. I'm just gonna go 25 and see what happens.
So Illeagle takes this one. He knows that it is unrealistic to be that stiff that much.
Right. It's just physiologically unsound.
They're basically standing still the whole novel, according to Nerdbomber.
Right. How many times was it? How many times was someone stiffed up?
48 times.
Oh, that's like very little. Okay, wow. I'm glad I understood so hard.
See,
that's kind of a tricky question.
You made it seem like it was happening a lot. So.
Well, it's just funny that he just repetitively says they stiffened when the men were approaching. That's a direct line from the book.
Nerdbomber, you the win is yours. I'm very sad, but I'm not going to put an asterisk on it because I respect you and I respect the rules of the game. So, Techtic, do better next time writing a quiz. That's my feedback. Is
technically the 5th does exist. It exists.
Whatever you say, man. Thanks again to everyone who listened to this episode. Hit us up on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a review there. Hit us up on our X. What do you even call them now? Hit us up on our X's. That sounds so weird. We're on there. Handles mentioned previously in the episode. Let us know when you go to bed every night and when you wake up in the morning. That seems like interesting things for us to know and converse with you about. And let us know what you think about any of the topics we discussed today. Uncharted, TMNT, The Last Ronin, Detective Pikachu Returns, etc. Y'all have a great week. Stay safe and keep on podcasting.